Hello again, my name is Ernest Minu. Let's settle for the details now. Over 1,000 foreigners have been repatriated from Ghana, mostly using unapproved routes to enter the country. Despite beefing up of security at the various checkpoints, the Ghana Immigration Service continues to record cases of foreigners illegally entering the country. The country's borders remain closed to check the spread of COVID-19. Now, last week, 20 Burkinabés and Togolese were arrested at the Kato border near Brekum for trying to induce officers with 100 Ghana cedis to gain access into the country. We will bring you an update on the situation at the various borders shortly, but first, let's watch this report on the last arrest of illegal migrants filed by Precious Semevo.
Ghana's borders remain closed as the coronavirus cases near 6,000, with one confirmed case in Sampa in the Bono region. But some foreigners continue to explore illegal means to enter the country. 20 of such people who entered Ghana from Cote d'Ivoire through Doma and Sampa in the Doma district and German North district have been arrested Thursday afternoon at Kato checkpoint near Brekum. Assistant Superintendent of Immigration Isaac Osei Asamoah has been speaking to JoyNews.
As you can see now, you can see them, a lot of them here from Togo, Burkina, and then the rest, Cote d'Ivoire, other countries. When you get here, the bus will stop, and then they will come down and then walk. So whilst they are walking, we will be picking them one by one, and then we'll be asking them questions. That's what we call profiling. So whilst we profile them, we get to know that, okay, this person is from this country, this person is from this country. As it stands now, we have about 20 people. They've given us the specific places that they passed. We will take them back to wherever they are coming from. We have the gun thermometer here, so we check them ourselves. If your temperature is high, then we call the health people to also come in. When they get to Cote d'Ivoire border, they pay their way out. Last Friday, we intercepted 7 people, and then what they told us was they took 10,000 CFA each from them, and then they will show them the route to enter the country. So when they get here, and then we also intercept them, they will try to pay their ways out, which we don't agree to those things.
Some transport operators take money to help them beat the gaze of Ghanaian immigration officers by sharing them on minibuses traveling from Doma and Sampa through Sunyani to their final destinations. Bono Regional Commander of Immigration, Assistant Commissioner of Immigration Charles Yaobediakon, told JoyNews over 1,000 foreigners have been intercepted and repatriated since the border was closed in the region.
We mounted a checkpoint on the Sunyani-Brekum highway at a place called Kato. Since we mounted that checkpoint, we have intercepted 125 foreigners and repatriated them. A lot of Togolese in Cote d'Ivoire, they want to come through Ghana to Togo. So they don't have any means to come but to use the unapproved routes. Since the border was closed, we have intercepted and repatriated 1,089 people. That is foreigners. Now, we have a place like Gonokrom. 62 of foreigners have been intercepted and repatriated. In Krankwanta, in the Doma West, 221 foreigners. Sampa has repatriated 272. Kofi Badu Krom has done 133. We also have a Tuna Tanso checkpoint at Wenchi and others.
He had this advice to Ghanaians living along the borders.
Unfortunate thing is, those border residents, sometimes they aid the foreigners to enter the country. They use motorbikes and other means, and they create unapproved routes to get the people into the country. Because of that, a place like Nkrankwanta, the commander there seized about 21 motorbikes. And these persons were just carrying people from Cote d'Ivoire to Ghana. They are thinking about the money they will get from these people without thinking about the effects of the disease, the virus. Then that is very unfortunate. So we are appealing to our border residents. They are part of us. We are one.
For JoyNews, Precious Semevo, Brekum.
Now, Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Immigration Service, Superintendent Michael Amakwata, is my guest this morning. He joins us via Zoom with an update on the situation at the border. Thank you very much, Superintendent, for joining us this morning. First, are you able to give us an update on the 20 persons arrested so far?
Yeah, good morning. Come again with the question, please.
Yes, are you able to give us an update on the 20 people who have been arrested? We just played a report from correspondent Precious Semevo. These 20 were arrested in the Bono region. Are you able to give us an update on where that case is?
Yes, we are still working on that particular interception at the Bono region. And at the appropriate time, we'll come out with the detailed release, including other interceptions that has taken place.
Let's stay in the Bono region. It appears that a lot is going on there as far as illegal entry is concerned. What is your reading of the situation? The last report we had suggested that over 1,000 people have attempted coming into the country through that area. What is the situation there?
Yes, thank you. You see, in normal times, these migrants will normally enter the country through approved routes, and they come into the country around this time when it's the farming season to engage in farming activities to earn an income. Then some will also travel down to Ashanti region and at times Greater Accra to trade. But because of the lockdown and because of the need for them to earn an income or to survive, they will want to attempt to enter the country in spite of the lockdown through unapproved routes. So that explains the reason why we have such numbers of interceptions along that route.
So is that to say that we have a lot of illegal routes leading to, into the country from the Bono area? Is that the situation?
Yes, not just the Bono area, but in fact along all the entry points cut across the country due to the nature of the terrain. So yes, it's not specific to the Bono region, but to almost all the border points that we have in the country.
Can you share with us some figures or nationally on the number of people who have attempted getting into the country illegally, those that have been repatriated, and also those that are being processed for court? Can you share some figures with us?
Okay, thank you. The figures I have here are up to the end of April. We are still collating for the month of May. Okay. So from the period of the lockdown till date, for refused entry across all the borders in the country, we have 694 people who were refused entry. That is those who attempted to enter, but then our officers refused them entry. Then we have also 281 people attempting to exit the country, to leave the country. And we've also made 967 arrests across the country. And this arrest, we have some who are in quarantine. We have some who are being prepared for court. And as we speak, we have one major conviction against a Malian who attempted during the earlier times of the lockdown to enter the country through the northern frontiers. And he was sentenced to a court fine of 12,000 penalty units, amounting to about 24,000 Ghana cedis.
Very well, very interesting figures there. Out of the 964 arrested, how many are in quarantine?
No, 967.
67, very well.
967.
Okay. So that is the total number of arrests you've made. How many of that figure, how many of those people are in quarantine?
We'll have about 250 or thereabouts.
So 250 in quarantine.
Yes.
And I suppose it's because you might have picked up information that they may be positive, or they may have come into contact with people who have tested positive. What is the circumstances surrounding the decision to put them in quarantine?
Yes, exactly. So normally when we do these arrests, we hand them over to the Ghana Port Health. So they will take them through the necessary protocols on taking their temperature and getting them quarantined. So that is what the situation is.
Okay.
So we'll get a proper feedback from the Port Health.
Now, there's also the allegation about inducement of your officers, and which is what is aiding the increasing numbers we are seeing as far as illegal entry is concerned. For instance, the report we played before having you on air suggested that these guys attempted bribing your officers 100 cedis each. Fortunately, they put the national interest above these monies. But there's that suggestion that your men at the borders are actually helping people get into the country because of these inducements.
Thank you. That I can say with all confidence that it is not true. It is rather due to the alertness, integrity, and professionalism of our officers that is leading to these interceptions. And if you realize, for the past months or so, we have occasion to elevate some of these officers who have intercepted these people and refused to be bribed and to allow these people to enter. Our problem rather be from the other side of the border, that if they are also very much on our happen. Our officers are on top of their job, and that is why they are refusing to be bribed and putting the national interest and having these people arrested.
Talking about what is happening on the other side of the border, it brings me to the issue of collaboration and the measures you put in place since the president announced the closure. What have you done differently to ensure that people actually do not come into the country, and what collaborations are you making with your friends on the other side?
Yes, thank you. Our friends on the other side, yes, they've also closed their borders. And so when we realized that seepages were coming from their side into our country along the unapproved routes, we engaged them. And it looks like now the common understanding is being created. And they are also doing their part to ensure that the seepages from their end into Ghana is brought to the barest minimum. Then again, we've also engaged the various communities along our borders to, as it were, win their support and collaboration to support the GIS in ensuring that the unapproved goods are not used by miscreants to either smuggling goods or to assist people to enter into the country. Then we've moved a little bit further into town and engaged the driver unions, because our intel around some of these bus terminals shows that some drivers are engaged by these illegal immigrants, and they are ferried either to the point of exit or from the point of entry into town. So if you realize, most of these interceptions are done at strategic inland checkpoints that the GIS has mounted along some of these major border roads.
Very interesting details there on measures you're putting in place, but a lot of these residents in the border towns or border communities are very much worried, and especially in the German area. They asked for a beefing up of security in the last few days when we had 20 arrested. What has changed? Have you beefed up the numbers at the borders in the last few days?
Yes, we've done so. About a little over 1,200 thereabout officers from the border patrol units have been sent to support some of these border commands, and so we've intensified the numbers, and it has also heightened the number of patrols that our officers engage in at the various borders. Yes, and also we are depending very much on intel gathering to ensure, you know, what they normally do is when the service identifies an unapproved route, then immediately we place patrolmen there. Then they are tempted to move ahead to create another one. So we are using intelligence to be able to outmatch them and to make sure that before they get there, presence of GIS is already there to serve as a deterrent.
Let's talk about incentives for your men around this time. Some of them who have spoken to us on condition of anonymity have said that they are putting in so much, they are going the extra mile, and yet it appears they are not benefiting from some of the packages announced by government. What are you doing for your men in these extraordinary times?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, the package from government as given to all security agencies who are partaking in Operation COVID-19 safety operations is what the GIS is paying out to all personnel involved in contact tracing or border patrol or enforcement or internal security backup support to the military and to the police. What we have gone further to do is to also motivate officers, especially for exceptional conduct or professionalism, by rewarding such commitment to duty. And if you realize, recently we had occasion to promote some officers who refused to be bribed by these 19 Burkinabes, and another 6 who were also promoted recently, and another officer who was shot in the line of duty was also promoted. So we believe this will go in the long run to push the morale of our officers. Yes, that apart from whatever ration that government has given, management of the Ghana Immigration Service is also doing its best to ensure that they are well motivated, because yes, the terrain in which they are performing their jobs is challenging. Nobody will deny that fact. But then we are also doing our best to ensure some safety and comfort to them. So now, well, in relation to supply of PPEs, we've made sure that at least every week or every fortnight, we beef up the supply of face masks, sanitizers, and other things to our officers for use to protect themselves in the line of duty.
We know that even though the borders have been closed, at least some businesses are allowed in terms of the movement of cargo and other essentials into the country. How are you making sure that people do not take unnecessary advantage of this exception granted by the president?
Yes, thank you once again. For the movement of cargo along the borders, yes, we put in place a scheme that all drivers and their mates, we take their details. So on arrival at the border, their details are taken. Ghana Port Health comes in to take their temperatures and all that. Then Immigration Service will forward their details to their destination. So let's say if they are coming to Kumasi to upload some cargo, their information, including the truck, including the goods, will be forwarded to our regional command, giving dates and time of arrival of this cargo. Then they go in to ensure, yes, that the said vehicle with the occupants indeed arrived. And after that, they ensure that they return back to the point of entry, that is back to the border. Then also, Port Health will also come in to do the necessary protocols. So every movement is being monitored. And now there's a directive from headquarters that trucks should be thoroughly searched, apart from seeing the driver and the mate. The main truck should be thoroughly searched if there are no persons hidden behind the containers or the goods. So we beef up security on that aspect for those who are mandated to use the borders during the closure period.
Now, you issued a statement some weeks ago encouraging landlords and landladies not to admit foreigners into their homes, especially if they are not sure that they have been cleared, tested and cleared of COVID-19. Do you have an update on that? Have you received some reports from some landlords or some ladies on persons who may have come into their facilities or properties without going through the process and not having the necessary documents?
Yes, that release was at the onset of the closure of the borders. And landlords are key stakeholders to the Ghana Immigration Service, especially in some of our operations, because most of these non-Ghanaians currently live in rented apartments which belong to Ghanaian landlords. So what we said at that time was that if any landlord has a non-Ghanaian or even a Ghanaian who arrived into the country between the 3rd of March to the 23rd of March, we will urge them to let us have details of such a person, or even inform such persons to contact the Ghana Immigration Service that yes, they indeed arrived between that period and they are at this specific address. Then we forward that information to the Ghana Health Service, and the team goes there to conduct the protocols. We received very appreciable responses from landlords, and at times maybe some informants who were living in the neighborhood that in this house, some foreigners indeed arrived and they are living in this location. And we go in and we find it to be true. So the response was very good, and even in the first day of the release, we received over 150 calls from landlords and from informants.
Mr. Makwata, I want to thank you so much for your time here on Newsdesk, for bringing us some information and some more detail on what the Ghana Immigration Service is doing so far at our borders.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Grateful. Let me bring you some other stories.